Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gold Standard with Alan Mosley, and here's your host, Alan Mosley.
Are we not doing a word anymore?
We're not doing a word anymore?
Yeah, what's the word of the day?
I don't know.
That's your... you were the
Hey,
one
look,
in charge
with
of the
all
words.
this listen, man, with all this live streaming
here
stuff
we
going
go. It's just blah, 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 and life is hard.
it's hard for me to do that. You know, I'm still trying to
Christ.
figure all this stuff out. So, you know, we're getting there. Well, see, I'm switching images back and forth. You know, I'm trying to rock these audio microphone switches. It is what it is.
All right. Hey, all right.
Hey,
all
I
right.
promise it will return once I get a lot more comfortable with how we're doing things now. So,
All right. Well, this is a crafty episode of the Gold Standard
crafty episode.
because I've used that word in the title, so that's what it's
Okay,
going to be.
very good.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. I am your host, Alan Mosley. As always, you can follow us on social media, which is facebook.com/TGS Alan Mosley, which, by the way, that's where you could be watching this in real time.
Yeah.
We did a restream last night
And how'd
of
that
an
go?
older episode, and it went awesome.
That's
and the
great.
chat was on fire, and
Good.
all of our good friends shared it. Everybody tuned in to say hello. The problem is that some people didn't quite understand the difference between a live stream, which is this right now.
Right. This is a live stream.
This is happening at noon Central
Right now.
Time on the 15th.
Right.
Versus a live restream where I'm in the chat with people.
Yeah.
And people were saying, if this is live, wave at me.
And
then,
it's like, but you don't get it.
and then I just typed wave. Because this is the best I could do.
Get
But
a
this
gift,
one
know.
is live.
Yeah, this is live.
And you can actually join in on that if you go to facebook.com/TGS Alan Mosley.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you can actually see people texting you and talking to you in Messenger in real time. which
Yeah,
is
so
really cool.
Dave Benner's here, and he says,
Hey.
Chris Calton's stuff is awesome. Yes, it is. We're going to actually talk about one of Chris's articles that ties into our topic today. Twitter is at Alan M. Mosley, but I really don't recommend that. I just mostly yell at people. That's all that is. But you don't have to do any of that, because you can just go to our website, which is thegoldstandardpodcast.com.
That's right.
And that's the gold. So the reason you go to the website is all the aforementioned stuff is on there.
Yeah.
As well as the articles that I've written that have been published in various places.
That's right.
As
Which
well
you're
as
due for another one, by the way.
Thanks a lot, Blake. Now I'm
Get to work, Alan.
yeah, right. And also, if you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/TGS Alan Mosley. We have a few more patrons now than we had before.
Yeah.
And when I say a few more, it was 0, and now it's a few more.
It's a few more. That's good.
That's
little by little.
That's an infinity % increase, isn't
That's
it?
right.
That's right.
0.
That's right. So I don't really we don't have a guest today. We're
Okay.
just going to be flying solo, but we do have a theme for today's show.
Okay.
Which is, you hear people all the time saying that, well, college campuses is just like a breeding ground for socialism, and you have all these commie professors that are just shoving stuff down kids' throats because they're impressionable youths and they're molding their minds, or they're just flat out saying, write what I agree with, or I give you a lower grade. Wait, what is that?
I was just testing a live
You're
stream.
just testing. Okay.
Testing a live stream.
I heard myself and I got a little scared. It's Alanception.
Keep
there.
going.
And look, it even says Blake Osborne has joined the chat. So I'm gonna talk to you.
I joined the chat somehow.
Hey Blake. There you go. So it's because you're watching. That's why.
Oh, okay.
But so you hear that a lot. And that's totally true, but I'm not saying that that's not true.
Right.
But I feel like it's worth having the conversation of, well, specifically, how does that happen? I mean, you could make the argument that, well, a socialist professor can teach things totally from his personal perspective, and if you don't regurgitate what I'm teaching you, then you fail. Like that can totally happen. I would like to think that's not that common, although I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. Although I did have some like experiences. I never had anything quite that bad. So I'm actually going to share a couple of different little modules that I had when I was in school to give people an idea of how they go about doing that. And we're also going to tie that into an article by Chris Calton, who's with the Mises Institute. He does a really, really awesome series, by the way, historical series. The one he's doing this year, I think, is about the Civil War. And it's just remarkable. I mean, talk about just unbelievable amounts of research and just massive amounts of information that's just packed into each episode. You really have to check. It's oh crap! If Dave is there or if Chris happens to be there, you'll have to remind me what the name of that series is. It's an unbelievable series that's produced by the Mises Institute. But he wrote an article that we're going to get to after the break that discusses a little bit about how the socialist bias goes from professor to student on college campuses.
Right.
And then I'm going to back that up with a little personal experience of mine.
Okay, good.
But before we get to the break, we're going to talk about some of our friends. So first is the Status Quo, which you've heard me talk about a few times on the program now. They have their website up and ready. It's thestatusquo.net. That's thestatistquo.net. You know, so statist quo,
right.
not status quo. It's
Statist.
thestatistquo.net.
Quo, right.
So our friends, Nick and Mike that do that show are just a couple of guys, ex-military guys who really came around to being very anti-war, the anarchist perspective. And that's primarily what their show deals about. But if you go to their website, you can actually see that they've got their episodes, but they also have a running blog and some articles that they publish on their website as well.
Nice.
So now you can get all that in one place, which is thestatistquo.net. And also we have a relevant little picture from the other 3%.
Okay.
Who the other 3% who is such an awesome page on Facebook, but also they're so generous to share our program. They have a little thing today that says, if you're not as disgusted by a hammer and sickle as you are by a swastika, then your education system has failed you.
Very much agree.
Very much agree, and we're going to talk about that in today's program. Good. I want to mention a few other people before we go after the break. Okay. Oh, it's historical controversies. Thanks, Dave. Historical controversies. Also want to point out really quick, Suzanne, it says that Suzanne is in the chat right now, but she's in Facebook jail because she got banned again.
Nice.
I didn't actually hear what it was that got her this time, but she's in Facebook jail, so I don't actually think she can comment. She can just watch. They don't let her comment from Facebook jail, but she can watch. So Suzanne, hey Suzanne, we're talking about you. So remember Suzanne as she was while she's in Facebook jail.
Right.
So since she is in Facebook jail, I have to help her out. You need to be checking out the Wasatch Report, which is one of Suzanne Sherman's shows on the Cerberus Radio Network. And we actually have those things tagged in the show notes today here on the episode.
That's right.
So go check that out. We're trying to help Suzanne out because, you know, she's in solitary right now, so she can't talk. So we have that tagged as well. And hopefully before we get done with the episode today, our friend Dadman David Gay from Liberty Memes is going to share a cause that he's promoting right now.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have that before the end of the episode. And one more, Trisha Stewart. So the person I was yelling at last week when I was saying Trisha. So Trisha Stewart is actually going to be in a debate. I think it's Friday, so I think it's a couple of days from now.
Okay.
We also have that tagged in the show notes for today because it's set up as an event on Facebook. She's going to be debating Tyler Breen on open or closed borders. So that's going to be really cool. I think WAL is the ones who are like, We Are Libertarians, are sponsoring that debate. So we have that event tagged in the show notes as well.
Good.
So never say that the Gold Standard didn't promote our friends.
That's right.
And the people who have been so gracious as to support us.
Awesome.
So there you go.
There you go.
And speaking of support, let's take a commercial break.
You got it.
We'll see you right after the break. Hey, did you see the playoff games last weekend?
Oh, you're into the sports ball game.
Sports Ball with Mike Meharry and Alan Mosley. SportsBallPodcast.com.
Sports ball is not a libertarian sports show. It's a sports show done by a couple of libertarians.
For when you need your bread and circuses.
Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for the Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. Email us at tgsalanmosley@gmail.com. Guys, welcome back to the show. David Gay, he comes through in the clutch. What did I just say? So we're going to pull this up really quick. This is a GoFundMe. We're going to show that right there. This is a GoFundMe. We're going to tag that. David, put that in the chat for the episode. But we're going to show it off right here. This is a GoFundMe for a Liberty guy in his group because they're always trying to help out folks in our community. Because if we don't help people in our community, then the commies win, am I right? So this is what it was is this is a family who was saving up money for Michaela right here for her to have a car, and she was a innocent bystander that was hit by a stray bullet in some type of a shooting.
Oh man!
And so they had to spend the money that would have gone to her car on her medical bills,
right? To save her life.
That's a terrible accident. It's horrible that would happen, but. David Gay is promoting this. The Liberty Memes family is coming together to try to raise money for Michaela and her family to help overcome those bills and help get this young lady a car.
Yeah.
And we've all been there, right? We've all been teenagers and we're getting our first little beater. What was your first beater, by the way?
My first beater?
Yeah.
Oh, mercy. A Volkswagen Beetle.
Really?
That was in parts and pieces in a garage.
Oh.
And I got to take it apart and figure out how to fix it and work on it and put it together. It was a lot of fun.
So you had to do work to get your first car on the road.
Basically.
Yeah. So mine was an 84 Ford Tempo.
84 Ford Tempo.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Michaela's medical costs and car, look at that. They already have 47 donors. They've already raised $2,350 out of a 5K goal.
Nice.
Guys, let's get it over that goal right there.
Yeah.
There's the link right there. I know it's really hard to see on the screen, but we're going to share the link in the chat before we go.
Right on.
So they're almost halfway, but you can get them over the top. It actually says right there in the chat, Monday night, accidentally shot in the back at close range when a coworker's gun fell out of his pocket. Guys,
Jeez.
Gun safety, hello.
Yeah, keep your guns.
Because the stupid person never gets shot. It's always an innocent bystander.
Yeah, exactly.
But she lived, thank God. The bullet exited her body without damaging any organs, and
That's
she will
good.
fully recover. Oof. The hospital bill was about $2,000, and they'll probably have separate bills from the ambulance. Now she's going to be out of work, of course, for the near future. Help out this family in urgent need. There you go.
God bless her. She's lucky.
So we're going to try to do more of that, by the way. We're going to try to I'm going to get with David, and maybe like once a week we're going to showcase somebody who needs help, because that's what we're about.
That's right.
We're about community. So with that said, we're going to move on to the topic to today, which is crafty commies on college campuses. And specifically, if all of these socialist professors are spewing their nonsense, how exactly are they going about it? Like, are they literally walking down the sidewalk with hammer and sickle flags? Well, sometimes.
I don't know.
Or how are they getting their influence across? So there's a really cool article here by Chris Calton. It's on the Mises Wire. We've got it pulled up right here. Which was How College Professors Push Students to Socialism. And he talks about, right here, he says, after the collapse of the housing market in 2008, professional historians gave birth to a new subfield of history, usually referred to as, quote, the new history of capitalism. You already know where this is going. Yeah. Economic history is hardly novel, but the new history of capitalism takes the approach that capitalism is the thing that needs to be explained. In the past decade, this field has become one of the most fashionable trends in the history profession, with centers for the study of capitalism being established at Cornell and the University of Georgia. So, right off the bat, he talks about there's a lot of issues with this scholarship, if you want to call it that. The very first thing he points out is Seth Rockeman from Brown University. He uses as support of his analysis of antebellum Baltimore, he quotes Adam Smith's exposition of the labor theory of value. Rockeman seems to be taking a shot at capitalism here by saying, even your precious Adam Smith believes labor is the source of value, but he appears, of course, to be entirely unaware that economists abandoned the labor theory of value more than a century ago. But that's just a small example of cherry picking, right? I think that's probably the right phrase there, is that they're cherry picking what they want to support their narrative. So he talks about a little bit later in the article, he says that proper study of economics makes important distinguish between various types of state interventions. The lack of intervention into the economy is generally recognized as laissez-faire capitalism. Correctly or not, historians typically attribute this economic view to Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, which was written in response to mercantilism, the practice of governments granting monopoly privileges to companies engaged in international exchange. Corporatism is a similar form of privilege granted domestically. Other interventions, such as taxation and regulation, hamper private companies. In some cases, government nationalizes an industry entirely, as is common with education systems. We're going to be getting to that in just a moment.
Yeah.
By controlling the money supply, governments also interfere with the credit institutions, manipulating the available supply of loanable funds. So he talks a little bit more about mercantilism, corporatism, and what we would refer to as capitalism. And it's important to make these distinguishing characteristics, because what a lot of enemies or opponents, I should say, enemies is a strong word. Yeah. What a lot of opponents of capitalism and proponents of socialism would say is, look at all of today's societal ills. Look how greedy corporations have taken over industries. Look how they've driven the poor workers' wage down. Look how products are becoming more and more inferior. Look how much control they have over government by buying politicians. Now, even if there was any shred of truth to any of that at all, what we would argue is, for one, you're talking about corporatism, not capitalism. Right. Corporatism is because how could corporations acquire such power? By and large, they acquire that power with help from government, not with no interaction with government. Sure. We want government to stay out of business, that's right. But when government helps to pick winners and losers by affecting markets, that's where you get corporatism. That's right. And furthermore, if you're going to bring up the topic of, well, you know, greedy corporatist number 11 over here who owns, you know, mega corporation number 7, right. And he's got billions and billions of dollars. Well, he's a more powerful man in society than a congressman or a president, because right. He can just use his money to line the pockets of politicians to get the legislation he wants shoved down Americans' throats.
Exactly.
Aha! But they seem to be, the disconnect there seems to be that they're disagreeing with us over what the real problem is. Is the problem the rich guy, or is the problem that the state has the power to be picking the winners and the losers? Right. If the congressman, if the senators, if the president did not have the authorization, did not have the power to be involved in the market, to be picking the winners and losers, then the billionaire wouldn't be spending his money on them, because he wouldn't be getting a return on his investment, right? There would be no ROI if to buy a politician if a politician could not reward you with such legislation.
That's crony capitalism.
So again, it's not capitalism, it's cronyism, it's corporatism. Right. And furthermore, it's not the power of the corporation, it's the power of government. Exactly. The corporation, the power that the corporation has can only be flexed in conjunction with the power of the state. So that's why we're against the power of the state on this program, not the power of a business. Right. If Blake opens up his goat farm and his goat farm becomes a multi-billion-dollar organization, which you'll have to clue me in on how you pulled that off.
I don't know, but
it's mostly because it's goats and cocaine.
No, just goats. Don't go there.
Okay. So that ties into a little segment that I wanted to go over today, and this is actually from when I was in school, and I'm not going to mention what school it is. It wouldn't be that hard for you to find out, but I just don't want to get like sued or have my diploma ruined or anything like that. Yeah. But when I was
hypothetical, right?
This is all this is totally not me and totally not a real school in the Northeast.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. But it goes back to our theme today of, well, how do they go about getting that influence, getting that state indoctrination, getting those socialist ideas into the minds of students without being too over the top, with being a little bit subtle. Yeah. And so we actually have something today. This was from an environmental 101 type of a class, where in the very beginning of the class, they wanted you to use this footprint calculator.
Gotcha.
Now it's all innocent right now. You'll see how this devolves over time.
It looks fairly innocent.
It looks fairly innocent. Yeah, you can go ahead and take me off of there so that you can see the whole screen.
I'll take you off.
So we're actually going to use Blake. We're going to use Blake's answers for this little calculator, and then we're going to dig into it. So this is the footprint calculator. And
now what am I getting myself into?
Oh, hold on. Here it is right here. What is your ecological footprint?
Our ecological footprint.
How many planets do we need if everybody lives like Blake?
Oh, boy.
What is Blake's personal overshoot day? Overshoot day being, that's the day that I guess everyone would run out of resources from today if if we all lived like Blake.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do this.
So let's take the first step. Here we go. Oh, you have
This
to do
isn't good.
you have to
This
do a
isn't
bunch
good.
of stupid crap. We're just gonna type in blah@blah.net. That's probably
There
an
you go.
actual. That's
Yeah.
probably a real.
That's
email.
probably for real, but
Okay. So, food. How often do you eat animal-based products? Beef, pork, chicken, fish, eggs, dairy products.
does it count if they come out of a can?
Yeah. So, would you
would be
you
every
say
day.
very often?
I would say
often,
very often.
occasionally, infrequently, never.
I would say very often.
very often.
just like everybody
so,
else.
So meat daily.
Meat daily.
Okay,
Yes.
animal products
It is
daily.
meat day every day.
So we're not going to do the added details just for the sake of
Yeah, okay.
brevity today, but we're gonna where's the okay, oh there it is. There's the next one. So we're going to say very often. How much of the food that you eat is unprocessed, unpackaged, or locally grown? Now, didn't you just say that you out of a can?
None.
Okay, so
2% maybe.
okay, we're
Every now and then we eat a leaf.
okay. We'll say 5% on the chance that
That's fair. That's fair. I do have a burger
Okay.
every now and then with a vegetable on it of some sort.
well.
I do go to Olive Garden and have a salad every now and then.
Well, that no. This is unprocessed, unpackaged, or locally grown. So
Oh,
we're gonna,
I see.
we're-
I see. Okay.
So we're going to say 5% on the chance that you go
Sure.
to a restaurant that's using a local eatery.
Okay.
So we'll say
we'll
that.
give it the benefit of the doubt.
well,
Sure.
yeah. Which housing type best describes your home? Freestanding, no running water, freestanding, running water, multi-story apartment, duplex, row housing, or building with 2 to 4 housing units, or luxury condominium.
What do they mean by running water? I mean water is actually coming to the house?
So freestanding, running water. Blake.
Yes, freestanding running water.
You don't live in a cabin with an outhouse.
No,
Okay.
I'm not collecting rainwater.
What material?
Oh, somebody's
Listen to
getting
that.
hurt.
The
There we go
Clintons are
again.
after us, guys. That's
There
what
we
that
go.
is. There
That's
it
it.
is. Okay,
It's over.
they're gone. What material is your house constructed with?
What are
Wood,
the options?
wood, straw, bamboo, brick, concrete, adobe, steel
Who lives
/
in a
other.
straw bamboo house?
Dude.
Yeah, wood.
Okay, we're just gonna say wood. Jesus. How many people live in your household?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait. Okay. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Blake doesn't know.
I think 6.
All right, so Blake.
Six
if
people.
Blake's family's listening.
6
they're like,
human beings.
Thanks, Dad. You don't remember how many of us are at the house.
Hey, there's so many of us. I gotta count it on 2 hands. All
All
right.
right, rough idea. What's just rough square footage? Of
3,800.
3,800. All right, this slider's ridiculous.
house. We don't use half of it. It just
Well,
stores junk.
it is 6 people. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not a small. Okay.
Right.
Do you have electricity? Yes. I know. I'm not
course.
even. I'm not going to let you.
we
cheat
run on
this.
treadmills.
How energy efficient is your home? Now, they have it as very inefficient. That's poor insulation, few LED lamps, heating, cooling system used often.
I'd say about 60%, man. Most of my lighting's
Well, no.
LED.
Please
What?
listen to
Oh, okay,
Blake.
okay.
Listen to the whole explanation before
Okay,
you give an answer.
okay.
Very inefficient is described as poor insulation, few LED lamps, heating and cooling system used often. Below average is inefficient lighting, standard appliances. Average is modern appliances, climate controls. Above average is well insulated, efficient lighting, appliances and with careful use. And then it goes up to there to efficiency centered
Drop
design.
back to the last one for me.
Well insulated, efficient lighting and appliances, and careful use.
Drop it down one.
That's what I thought. See, you
Do
probably already
average.
noticed. You probably already noticed this is skewed towards.
It seems a little
It's skewed towards silly.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of room for you to move that slider
Average
the other
is
way.
modern appliances and climate controls.
Yeah.
And below average is inefficient lighting, standard appliances. If you're using standard appliances, they consider you below average.
Oh, you're horrible. What a terrible person you are.
And very inefficient is poor insulation, few LED lamps, heating and cooling systems used often. Do you use your central heat and air often?
Absolutely. I mean,
I'm just saying. That's
I
what
know.
they
I
say
mean-
is very inefficient.
I mean,
'Cause they're
this
retarded.
is Tennessee, dude. I mean,
I know,
you're
it's
going to
hot.
freeze
Yeah,
or
I
you're going to
know,
burn.
I
There's
know.
no in between.
Okay. What percentage of your home's electricity comes from renewable sources?
Like I know.
So 0.
We have no idea.
Compared to your neighbors, how much trash do you generate?
Dude,
Uh-oh.
how high does that slider go?
So would you say much more?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's 6 of us, man. I got
Hold on.
2 tall garbage
Let
cans
me,
in the kitchen.
Let me check the chat real quick, just because we haven't checked in with the chat in a while. No, everyone's left. No one's watching this. Okay.
This is the part they should be watching.
Yeah, I know. This is
okay. Funny stuff.
Transportation.
Uh-oh.
How far do you travel by car or motorcycle each week?
Each week?
In miles. You don't ride a bike, do you?
No.
So by car or van or whatever.
By car?
How many miles a week?
Dude, easily 100.
Okay.
Which is actually low considering because we don't commute much. Just
Okay.
take kids' schools.
So we'll say 100.
Walmart. And
What is the average fuel economy of the vehicles that your poor Osborne studio is
let's put it this way: the studio van is a 2000.
How many miles to the gallon on average do your vehicles get?
Okay, we have a lot of vehicles, so I guess I'm going to have to go on the one we use the most, which is probably 22 miles to the gallon.
22. That's better than I thought you were
Yeah,
going to say.
well, it's a Dodge Caravan, so it's fairly efficient.
When you travel by car, how often do you carpool? Like, how often do you get in cars with other people?
Never.
Never. That's what I thought, because we're Americans.
Well, no,
How
it's
far
better
do
than
you
he do.
travel on public transportation? Zero.
Zero, yeah, of course.
Yeah, this is the South, guys.
Oh man, this is
Yeah.
gonna be terrible.
I know. How many hours do you fly each year?
0.
So you say the average is 0 flying hours per year?
No, we don't fly.
Okay.
We can't. We're 6 people.
All right,
We want to fly.
let's-
We
all right,
buy
here
a
it
plane,
is.
It's
Are
cheaper.
you ready?
Uh-oh.
Your personal overshoot day is, we're not donating to you assholes. Your personal overshoot day is February 27th. That means if everybody lived like you, that's the day that the Earth would run out of resources per year. Is February 27th.
We're all dead, guys. We all died a long time ago.
2 months.
Forget it, dude.
The world can only operate 2 months with Blake's
Wow.
family. There you go.
Oh my word.
If everyone lived like you, we would need 6.3 Earths to
Ooh.
sustain everyone's resources.
Really?
That's according to them. We're going to get to that.
Well, I think we're doing pretty good. You know, somehow we're squeezing a whole lot more Earths than that.
Now
into
let's
one, from what I
check
gather.
out. Let's check out the details. Now
Okay.
this is how they have it broken down. So
right.
for you, it's food and goods makes up overwhelmingly your usage.
Sure.
So it's by land type, your carbon footprint is yikers, according to them. And so, according to them, your ecological footprint is 10.8 global hectares. That's how much space would be needed to farm your resources, which
Oh,
is
okay.
retarded.
That's great. Yeah.
16.5 is your carbon footprint in tons of CO2 emissions per year.
They didn't even count my, my bovine flatulence coming from my goats and my animals and my
I know,
alpacas
you
and all
should
that.
have.
I mean,
You should have counted all
They didn't
that.
even ask that.
We'll say that we counted that in trash.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Well, that's
absolutely.
what we'll say. So let's explore solutions.
Let's explore solutions.
Let's explore
oh boy, here we
solutions
go.
to help Blake.
Let's-
bring me back
let's-
so that people can see how
Okay,
sarcastic
yeah, okay.
I'm
Let's
being.
see that.
We're
Okay,
going to
here
look
you
at
are,
some
you're back.
solutions. No, we have to see the thing.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah.
Hold on. This is gonna be.
And Blake is so distressed by
here
how
it
he's
goes
destroying the
again.
planet.
For some reason, I'm having.
It
an issue.
doesn't
There
matter.
it is. Now
Just go
you're
back to the
inside
website.
yourself.
Just go back to the website. It doesn't
All right,
matter.
website.
Okay.
You inside the. Okay, now let's reverse those two. So 2 and 3 need to switch places. I did it. Look at that.
Guys, Blake is so upset by how hard he's destroying the environment.
I think this thing's
that he
going to
can't-
recommend I have to off some children, which I'm totally not going to do.
Now this is what I want to get into.
Okay.
So it's where they go ahead. Yeah, remove me again
All right,
because you
bye.
can't see
You
it.
see you later.
So this is the solutions that they suggest you use to help your environmental
Okay.
footprint. City. While 70 to 80% of the world's population expected to live in cities by 2050, smart urban planning and development strategies are crucial to managing our resources.
Sure.
And then it suggests you visit your city's website and your city leaders to support sustainable policies.
That's, of course, assuming I live in LA.
So right off the bat,
I
they're
live in the densest city in America. They don't even ask where I come from.
right off
Right.
the bat, their biggest suggestion. Let me close
Actually,
some stuff here so
Okay,
I can.
close some stuff.
Their biggest suggestion is central planning.
Yeah.
Imagine my
Imagine your
surprise,
surprise.
that
Central
this
planning.
garbage's number one suggestion is central planning.
Yep. Yeah. Because, of course, they have all the answers.
Let's look at energy real quick.
Sure.
Renewable energy is a direct path to reducing your ecological footprint and addressing climate change. Can you take transit, bicycle, or walk instead of driving solo at least once a month, once a week? No.
Because I live way too far away
No,
from anything I need.
Exactly so. So this is made by people who, in their mind, it's all the plebs live in a city where their block is basically their environment.
Yeah, and they live 1 block away from Walmart.
So for the rest of us in the country, so that whole chunk of land that you fly over between New York and LA,
there's no humans there.
Well, there is. It's us.
Yeah.
And we don't walk 37 miles and back and forth every day. No, we do not.
In Tennessee, if you get on a bicycle and you actually want to have any form of cargo on that bike, you're going to go up a 40-foot hill and down a 40-foot hill and up an 80-foot hill and down a 10-foot hill. It's going to hurt you.
Food.
Yes.
We got to speed this up. Food. Diet and cutting food waste are powerful, sustainable levers.
Sure.
Can you be a smarter shopper and reduce food waste? Can you try a new vegetarian recipe once a month, once a week? No! I'm not a vegetarian, so hell to the no. I'm not going to do it.
I could, but there's no way on earth I'm going to get my kids to eat that.
So yeah, exactly. So now don't get me wrong. Now, if you're somebody who does a lot of home recycling, if you like to reuse and reduce, reuse, if you're somebody who is conscious about packaging, if you buy in bulk and you don't have as much, well, good for you.
Well, then you better not shop at Walmart.
Like, hey, good for you. That's fantastic. I'm happy that you do that.
Yeah.
But in a lot of instances and for a lot of people, a lot of those things just aren't practical.
Right.
And we're not even getting into, by the way, we could do a whole episode about the recycling industrial complex and about how the processes by which all of our facilities do recycling actually emit more CO2 and use more resources than if we just made more packaging.
Absolutely.
We're not even going to go there
Yeah.
today. I'm just simply saying, if you do that, that's great. I'm glad that you do. But for a lot of people, that's not practical.
Right.
And I sure as hell ain't going to do vegetarian diet for this. Just kill yourself.
It's also sometimes even recycling's more expensive.
Euthanasia.com/ecological footprint. That's and so here's where we get the good one.
Okay.
Population.
Uh-oh.
Addressing population size is essential to creating a sustainable future for all
Kill your
within our
children.
planet's ecological budget. You can choose the size of your family to affect our long-term footprint. Support women's rights and access to family planning. I'm just going to stop you right
Yeah,
there.
you just...
No.
Wow.
Support women's rights and access to family planning. Let's
Let's go ahead.
Let's not mince words, ladies
No.
and gentlemen. We know what that means. That means abortion.
Yeah, it means
that
kill your
birth-
children.
That's
Yeah,
what that
kill 'em
means.
off.
It means birth control, but in a greater sense, it means women's rights. That means abortion.
Yeah.
So this site, even though they purport that it's about the environment and reducing your footprint,
Yeah.
they've managed to weasel so many other things into it.
Yep.
And it was just that easy. And so to wrap this up really quick before we move on to the last little bit is when the point of doing this exercise for the sake of the class that it was in was you were supposed to, so you do the survey, you get your results, you share your results with everybody,
Right.
and then you look at the suggestions of how to fix your horrible, sinful ways, and then you discuss those. That was the point of the exercise. But you see how in the way that they phrased it, in the way that it was sort of tilted, it's
skewed.
It's skewed in such a way that the way the average American is living is, of course, wrong. And in order to, because no one wants to be seen like, look, like, hey, I want to save the environment. I'm not literally Hitler. I'm not trying to destroy planet Earth. But they try to skew it so that, well, but if you don't support our policies, you're part of the problem. That's how they get you. Is that, well, you don't want to be on the wrong side of history. You don't want to be on the losing team. You want to be on the team of right and just. And the way to do that, of course, is to support our policies.
Right.
What are our policies? Central planning and abortion. They managed to shove central planning and abortion into this nonsense. Got one more little thing for you before we go.
Uh-oh.
Actually, you know what? Let's take another quick commercial break, and we're gonna save the last awesome little thing for the end. Let's take a quick break.
Have you ever been talking politics with a friend and told, if you don't like it here, you should just move to Somalia?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, from the sandy beaches of Mogadishu, Sherry and I bring you Postcards from Somalia, one of the newer products of Little L Productions, where we take on all of the fallacies of the people who say, if you don't like it, you can just get out. Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. Email us at tgsalanmosley@gmail.com. So here's the last little bit that I want to share with you before we go.
Okay.
After doing that exercise and after seeing what a horrible person you are, and after getting suggestions from the progressives as to how to fix all of the world's problems, the next thing is okay, now that you've learned this, let's focus in on a topic for your final project.
Sure.
And it's going to be a topic of something to do with the environment.
Right.
This and I've mentioned this on the show before. I've never had a professor or a class in my college days ever say to me, okay, I disagree with you, therefore you fail. It was never that bad.
Right.
But it's more subtle. The way that they subtly do it is they tell you, well, you can pick your project and you can cite your own sources, but we would prefer it if you picked them from an approved list. And this, in the case of just writing a paper, it comes from their library.
Yeah.
Well, surprise, surprise, when I wanted to cite Mises or Rothbard or Hayek or a Tom Woods or a Kevin Gutzman or a Brian McClanahan, oh, surprise, surprise, they didn't have their books in the library.
Of course.
And so therefore they're not usable.
They're not supported material.
That's how they get you. You'd have to get special permission to use sources outside of their paradigm. Yeah. That's how they get you. Yeah. So on the surface, it's like, oh, no, you can do whatever you want. Fine print within our
ramifications.
So for this particular project, for this whole environmental thing, it was, now that you've seen the thing and now that you've picked your topic, you have to have resources to support your topic. You have to do research. But we're going to give you the resources we want you to use in order to do your research. Go ahead and switch it over. This was their resources. Look at that. No. So we're going to scroll down a little bit. The resources that they would allow you to use in order to get information for your project were the Department of Energy, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Interior, including the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Geological Survey, and Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. And then these few government corporations, including the Environmental Protection Agency, Farm Credit Administration, and the National Science Foundation. So again, you are only able to use government resources.
Yeah.
My friend Mike Maharry and I had a fun little conversation just a couple of nights ago where we were discussing a similar topic as this of people who cite government studies, government propaganda, government resources as their citations.
Right.
Like, I just immediately discredit all that. Yeah. And my smart aleck answer to Mike is that, when you've been responsible for detonating a certain number of nuclear weapons, in this case more than 0, I automatically don't respect anything you have to say.
Right.
I don't. Like, even if you're right, I want you to find another source because I don't respect anything the U.S. government has to say. So as a default, I automatically discredit all of these resources.
Yeah.
I want you to find, even if you read something from one of these pages, because all of these are links, you can click on all these and it has resources. I want you to find that resource somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to accept state-funded propaganda as a resource for your project.
No one should.
For them, these you have to pick from this approved list. So again, it's a bit more subtle. It's not just that, well, if you disagree, you fail. It's not quite that.
Right.
It's not they show up to class, with a T-shirt of Stalin or anything. It's not that. But what it is they steer you towards a conclusion, and then they want you to research said conclusion with a pre-approved list of citations
that are highly skewed to one side.
That are all skewed, and they're all, and in this case, they're all actually funded by the United States government. But in other cases, it's a library of information, but you will not find a lot of dissenting voices within that library.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm going to have to reach out to Chris Calton so that we can, I'd love to have him, we could talk about it. We could talk about a lot of things. We talk about history, we talk about whatever. But I'd like to talk more about this particular topic with him just because I feel like we have a lot to share when it comes to the subtle ways that they get that indoctrination in. And it's twofold. It's not just socialist indoctrination, like talking about college campuses.
Right.
But it is. But it's also state propaganda. Like that is, in the case of this particular environmental study, that is just straight propaganda from their sites to your mind.
That's right.
And there's no, if you have a dissenting, I mean, you can have a dissenting opinion, but you couldn't cite any of your resources outside of their approved list.
Yeah.
So anything that you say is purely conjecture and is not backed by citation.
Even if it comes with, even if it comes from a legitimate source.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
It's kind of got depressing towards here at the end.
Oh, it's all right.
It's it was kind of a dreary day and
rainy.
It was a solo episode. I really did want to do that exercise just because I wanted people to see. So that was an actual exercise at an actual university in the United States, and all of that BS about ways you can improve your footprint and here's resources we suggest you look up and all
disturbing.
that. That is straight from their exercises to the students in those classes.
You ever heard of the Georgia Guidestones? Mm-hmm. It's straight from the Georgia Guidestones.
Yep.
That is some creepy stuff, man.
So there you go. Mm-hmm. So guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley. You can follow us on social media, which is facebook.com/TGS Alan Mosley, which is, by the way, where you could have seen this show live. We're going to restream it because Facebook throttles us to oblivion. So we're going to restream it. Sure. But you could have actually talked to us live in chat if you had gone to facebook.com/TGS Alan Mosley.
So when are you going to restream it?
So the live show is Wednesdays at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, and it'll be restreamed sometime in the evening someday.
We're working on a schedule.
Well, look, the only way that people are going to get a more firm schedule from me is that they pay us more money. Once that number of patrons goes from like 5 or 6 to like 50 or 60, then we'll start talking.
Yeah, then you can start saying, every night on Monday at this time. Sure.
Twitter is at Alan M. Mosley, but you don't have to do any of that. You can just go to our website, which is thegoldstandardpodcast.com, as well as support us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/TGS Alan Mosley.
There you go.
So for all of our friends, the status quo, the other 3%, Tricia Stewart, her upcoming debate, all the links are there in the chat. The good calls that we're wanting to support from Dad Men and Liberty Memes, we shared that earlier in the episode. We're going to get that link up as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting the show, and we will see you next week.